So what we're going to be looking at today is preparing yourself for your exams, really looking at what I call exam conditioning, the best ways to train yourself to be ready to give you optimal performances when it comes to those days. Just to give you an overview of where this comes from, it actually comes from early psychological research by this man Pavlov. And what Pavlov found was that we learn via association, and if we can train ourselves to make certain associations and links to the emotions we want to feel in the exams, it will then help us when it comes to that performance. Pavlov's work came from looking at animals and dogs in particular, and those of you who have pets may know that there's certain things that you go and do and your dogs will respond like that. For example, if I go to the kitchen and open the fridge door, whether it's to get dog food or not, my dogs will rush to me. And Pavlov studied this and found that what happens is what we call a stimulus response bond. So dogs will naturally salivate at the sight of food, and if a dog has never heard a bell before, they will be interested, but they won't do anything with it. However, if you pair these two things together, the dog food and the bell, what will happen is very quickly the dogs will associate the sound of the bell with food. So what Pavlov found was just by ringing a bell after this paired association, the dogs would salivate on command even though they couldn't see the food at all. And this is what we call classical conditioning. This can be applied to lots of areas of our life. So we may be in a really bad mood, be feeling really upset, and a certain song comes on the radio and straight away it picks up our mood. And the reason is that we've associated that song with positive times, positive emotions, and it overrules anything else that we're feeling. And this happens in our day-to-day life. What we can also do is we can train ourselves and condition ourselves to feel the emotions that we want to do. Why this works and why we use sort of smell as a conditioning in particular is because of this part of our brain here, the hippocampus. The hippocampus sort of stores our memories, is the place that sort of locates and controls how our memories are formed. And what research at the Norwegian Institute of Science found a few years ago is that we have sort of neurons that go straight from our nasal cavities straight up here to our hippocampus. So smell is a really easy sense to condition when linking to our memories. So how this works is that you will start to think about something you like. Here I've got a picture of my new dog chewing my shin pads. Luckily she didn't do too much damage, which is why she sort of made it onto our slides today. So think about something you like. It can be absolutely anything that brings a smile to your face, the reaction that you want to get just before your exams. You then get lemons. It can be any fruit you want, anything that's got a strong smell. I just like to use lemons as they're very sort of easy to get hold of. And you do this paired association, just like Pavlov did with the bells and the food. You think of your positive memories and your lemons. So while you're thinking about whatever it is that makes you smell, you sniff your lemons. You do this for 5 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, and very quickly what you will associate is the smell of lemons with being in a really positive mood. So when it comes to going into that exam hall, when all those nerves are there, all the what ifs, all the negative thoughts, all the worst questions in the world come up, if you've conditioned yourself to feel positive around the smell of lemons, you bring in a lemon in just before your exams, you sniff them, and you've conditioned yourself to feel positive. The second way that you can condition yourself is how you condition yourself to work. For years, researchers have sort of understood that students who work late into the night tend to underperform and don't perform as well as students who work during the day. But we wanted to know why that was. So a big study was conducted across 3 countries looking at students in Australia, in America and the United Kingdom. And they grouped the students into 2 parts. They called them the night owls and the day larks. And unsurprisingly, we found that the day larks overperformed and they performed better in the exams than the night owls. What was really interesting was when we looked at the different factors that originally had been put into consideration, we found no difference in the sort of cognitive abilities of the students. We actually found that the night owls on average spent an hour more per night revising than the day larks. The only theory that's been sort of put forward that has been accepted by all these researchers is the reason why the day larks do so well is that they've conditioned themselves to perform at their best during the day. Examinations typically occur between 8:30 and 9 in the morning, and then again 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So these day larks who are getting up and the normal school routine, revising during the day, they have trained themselves to be at their best, their peak performance during the day. The night owls who are working just as hard, if not harder, unfortunately are training themselves to work at their best late at night, and that's not when their examinations are. So when it comes to going on study leave, when it comes to the exam time and working during the weekends, really think about this, because if you're conditioning yourself and working during the day, that means that you're going to be more alert when it comes to your examinations. Third way to condition yourself is how you actually approach your revision and what can you be doing in terms of remembering all that information. Here is just one page of a textbook of a psychology exam, lots and lots of key information here. And what students often will look at is go, right, I need to remember all of this, and can spend hours just reading this, reading it again, or sort of the dreaded highlighter pen and highlighting every single key word on the page. As you can see, there is a lot of key words here. So to make your revision more sort of achievable and more realistic, what students need to do is they need to take this information and transfer it somehow into a way that they can revise it. Here's an example of one of my students' work who has created a mind map, who's taken all the key information and put it on here, something that is a much more easily chunk of information to remember. What the student will then do is they will use this rather than the textbook to revise, and they will try and see how much of this can they replicate from memory. One of the key things about conditioning ourselves and performing well in exams is knowing that it's okay to forget things, and that students won't be able to remember this all the first time of trying. The idea is that by 2 or 3 attempts, they'll be able to fill in the gaps of things they've forgotten in the past and give them the confidence to recall this information when it comes to their exams. So when they get a question on this topic, instead of going, right, I can remember that big textbook and all those pages highlighted, they can go, right, here is my mind map on it. I've got 5 key points that I need to make, and they can condition themselves to feel more confident when it comes to the exams. So the ways that we sort of need to condition ourselves, we need to be able to condition our emotions. We need to be able to control the stress and anxiety we feel during the exams and actually have a trigger that we go in making ourselves feel confident. We need to condition our mindset. The way we work and the build up to our exams and when we work can have a big impact. And finally, we need to condition our notes and condition the way that we revise. And these 3 things will help achieve optimal performance in exams.